Hello and welcome to this week's Marketing Mix. Today I am joined by the fabulous Rachael Howourth of My Sales Mentor. Now, we were just talking before we came on. I've been following Rachael for a little while. Like most of this year, I discovered her on Enterprise Nation in an advisors meeting and thought to myself, this is a lady who tells it like it is, like I like to do. And this is a person that really is out there to help people. So I've been following her. I've been to a couple of her webinars, and she's just brilliant with the sales tips, sales advice. So I was really happy when Rachael said that she would come onto the Marketing Mix and share her expertise. So if you are watching live, don't forget to pop your questions into the chat box, and I will pose as many as I can to Rachael in the time that we've got. But I have got some questions of my own, because why not? I need sales tips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Rachael to introduce herself, and then we'll get into the questions.
Cool. Would you do that now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. So hi everyone. I thank you for such a kind introduction. I do like to say it how it is. My name is Rachael Howourth, and I'm a sales and business coach. I'm based in the UK, down in the sunny southwest. And I have two businesses. One is a training company that works primarily with corporates and SMEs on sales training, customer service, leadership, and lots of the soft skills around business. But the business that right now has got my heart is my online coaching business, which is called My Sales Mentor, where I work with female coaches, consultants, course creators, anybody in the kind of online expert space who's looking to monetize their skills, expertise, and talent, and do that in a way that's easy, not sleazy. So that's a line that you hear me say often, because a lot of the people I work with, that's the primary concern of theirs, is that they want to be able to sell, they want to be able to convert leads, but they don't want to be seen as sleazy or salesy or have all those like awkward moments that people feel when they're in a sales situation. So I love my online coaching business, and I love being able to help people all over the world. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Brilliant. I love that. Easy, not sleazy. No one likes the sleazy sales person.
No.
I feel like they've lifted your watch when they've shook your hand.
There's just no need for it either,
No. So for anyone who doesn't know, Rachael actually wrote a guest post for me, which is on the blog now. But if you haven't had a chance to read it, there's one particular part of it where Rachael refers to her Cupid framework. So I was wondering if you could just tell us what Cupid stands for even.
Yeah, of course. Well, firstly, as all good trainers and coaches know, a framework will always stand you in good stead, because firstly, it gives you something to follow, but also it gives your clients a proven process and, something that we can really remember. So when I found this process that I designed, like fit into the word Cupid, it fit really well with sales, because that's what sales is. We want that little Cupid's bow to hook in the clients, that we need in our business. So Cupid stands for connect, understand, present, isolate, and diarize. And so it's a 5-step process to take you from your audience being freezing cold, where you have to create that connection, through to diarizing a next step. And of course, that next step could be you having a follow-up meeting with them. It could be you booking them into one of your programs, or selling them a service, or sending them a sales link. But the diarize bit, often the people forget that that action at the end of a meeting. They go to a sales meeting and you're quite excited, the client feels like an exciting opportunity for you, and they say, oh, can you put that in a proposal, or can you send me the information in writing? And then a few days later, when you've sent that and you haven't had a reply, you wonder why. And it's because the D gets missed, the diarize, the next step. So that is a really important part of Cupid.
When you're diarising stuff, that's you're essentially you're saying that's the next step that you want people to take. So if you've sent a proposal, should we be saying, I'll follow up with you in 3 days' time, just to see if you've got any questions or something like that?
Exactly right. I mean, it's a common objection, which is kind of a fake objection, that in a sales meeting, rather than a client make a decision, that they will say, well, can you send me that in writing, please? Can you send me the details? Can you list it all out in an email or a proposal? And if we're doing a really thorough proposal, that can take quite a while. So sometimes people will say in a meeting, can you send me this in writing, to avoid having to make a decision. And so my advice to anybody who is experiencing that, where people are saying, oh, send me the details, and then you don't hear anything, that when somebody says to you, can you send me the details? You say, yeah, sure. What is it exactly that you need to be able to recall after our meeting? Because if you've already had a good meeting, you shouldn't need to have to say it all again in writing.
Yeah.
You should only, reiterate the key points. So if I get the feeling that somebody's saying, oh yeah, can you put that to me in writing? I'll say, yeah, sure I can. Which bits in particular do you need to remember?
Yeah.
Or is it because you need to share it with a colleague? What is it that you really need my proposal to cover? And of course, if they're like, everything that you've said, well, then they're clearly not interested. Whereas if they're able to say, I need this, 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 and this, because my colleague's got to sign it off too, well, then that's fair enough. I will sit and spend 3 hours on a proposal.
Okay.
I'm not going to do that if they can't demonstrate to me that they were listening.
Ah, that's interesting, because I had this one person contact me because they'd seen some work, not related, but they'd seen some work that I was doing for another client. And they'd asked that client who was doing it for them. And initially they wanted me to just do a newsletter, and I sat down and talked to this person, and they're a coach as well. But realistically, what they needed was a whole plan to launch and to market their coaching sessions. But now that you've said that, I think I would approach that differently, because I just had so much backward and forward. Like I said, I'd send. He asked for the proposal, and luckily for things like that, I've got a canned document, so it's kind of I just have to change a few bits and pieces. But the amount of times that I had to chase this person to say, is it okay? Is it okay? Like, have you got any questions? And then it all just went quiet. So I think I will take that forward.
Well, that is the D of Cupid, the diarise, but also a bit of the I, which is isolate. Because if there are reasons why you and the client are not a good fit, you need to isolate those reasons so that you can overcome that objection and move forward. So you've got a little bit of the I there and a little bit of the D.
Yeah, I'm going to have to write Cupid on a post-it note and put it on my monitor so that I remember that all the time. In terms of having these conversations, and I know a lot of us that are coaches that sell to other businesses, the sales process is longer for us. It's not I'm going to buy some chocolates off this website, bam, done. So what are the types of things that we should be doing to prepare for the conversations that we're going to have?
I think often when people want to grow their business, when you want to grow your results, grow your income, grow the number of clients that you work with, it often gets put down to, oh, I'm rubbish at sales, or the sales isn't working. But actually, there's a real distinction between lead generation and lead conversion. And of course, marketing is the generation of leads and sales is the conversion of leads. And so I think, when it comes to preparation and building a strategy, people need to get really clear with, am I good at generating leads? Am I good at converting leads? Am I good at neither? Am I good at both? What really is going on in your business? And so if it's a case of somebody's able to say, well, I've generated 20 leads this month, but I only closed 2 of them, that's a sales problem. But if somebody says, well, actually, I only generated 2 leads and I wanted 20, that's a lead generation problem. So I think, firstly, it's about getting clear with exactly what it is that you want in your business. And secondly, if it is an online coaching, consulting business, I think it's very easy for people to think that social media is going to do all the work for us,
Yeah.
and it doesn't.
No.
Like we were saying before, there is no silver bullet. There is no one magical post that we could put out on Instagram or LinkedIn that would suddenly have people waving their credit cards at us.
Yeah. No matter what people tell you, that does not exist.
It just doesn't. You know, I coach my clients through the process of writing really good captions and what to put on stories. And, you know, I've got this 7-day guide where I give people the scripts and the templates for the post, the stories, and the DMs, and how they all align to, you know, basically help you win clients within a week. But still, you know, it's still not magic. You still have to work really, really hard. So I think the preparation is all about understanding what your goal really is, getting clear who the person is that you're trying to work with. You know, I know we always say, work on your ideal client, and people are like, oh. But it's the truth. You know, if you can't speak the language of your ideal client, how are they going to know to listen to you?
Yeah,
they're not. So you've got to know the language of your ideal client, and then think about how are you going to get them into your audience? How are you going to get them to opt in to your audience? And do that willingly because they want to, which is where the non-sleazy comes in.
Yeah.
You know? So think about lead magnets, which could be PDFs, downloads, checklists, quizzes. Think about lead magnets that could be live events like webinars, masterclasses, boot camps, challenges, that sort of thing. And then think about, how am I going to get my message out there about my lead magnets so that the people who need it know that it's there? And so it's all about then being visible to the right people on the right day with the right message. And lo and behold, those people opt into your audience by choice. And then you have that opportunity to move them through the nurture phase and build that relationship and build that connection. And all of that sounds like a lot of stuff to do, but it doesn't have to be difficult. You know, there are ways to simplify that and to play to your strengths, you know. So yeah, sorry.
I'm glad you said all of that, because this is you've just said everything that I say. And if you don't start with a clear goal in mind, then you're never going to know whether what you're doing worked or not. And I'm sorry, but not everyone is your target audience. You're never going to sell to everyone. You need to figure out who your ideal customer is. Doesn't mean that other people won't buy from you. Mm-hmm. It just means that you're focused on these people, and you, like you said, you speak their language, you understand their pain points, you understand how you can help them. Yeah. You know, it gets clearer and clearer what you're trying to say to the people that you want to buy from you. Yeah. So I'm so glad you said that, because I sometimes think that people who listen to me think that she always says these things, but I'm not the only one, people.
The minute I say the word ideal client, I just know that people are like, oh, here we go, ideal client. But it's the truth.
It is the truth. And my ideal client type is women. I didn't actually know that that's what it was. And through work that I've done, I've realised that it's women like me who invariably are working on their own and don't understand about marketing. They've had to do it themselves, and they've got to a point where they just think, I don't know how to move this on. But that doesn't mean I don't work with men.
Well, yeah, exactly. My ideal client's a woman, and I had one-to-ones yesterday with 2 guys. You know, like, it's just because your ideal client is one thing doesn't mean that you can't work with anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think when you understand your ideal client and you can walk in their shoes, you can see things through their lens, you find it so much easier to write copy, to show up on video, and to say things that make them go, oh, she's talking to me. Yeah. Like, she seems to know me, you know. And I had a client the other day who's a fitness coach, and we were talking about her ideal client, and she said, oh, my ideal client is a woman who wants to lose weight. Well, by the time that we'd finished the session, she had all of these phrases and things that this woman would say, things that she wants. You know, she wants to get into a little black dress ready for Christmas. She looks in the mirror and doesn't look at her face. She looks at her hips. You know, like those things that your real true ideal client is thinking, not even necessarily saying. When they then hear you say it, they think that you've read their mind, and that connection is then instant. So, Yeah, ideal client work, so important. So
Definitely. So in terms of sort of looking at when you get to the point where somebody wants to have that discovery call with you, and you know that actually, okay, that's a bit more serious because they want to book some time with me. What are the types of questions that we should be thinking about asking this person that's booked time with us?
Okay. Well, I'm going to be controversial, because the first thing I do when somebody wants to book a call with me is try to put them off.
Oh, interesting.
I try to put them off because, you know, I'm so visible on every platform that if everybody that wanted to book a free half an hour could book a free half an hour, I wouldn't have any time left in my diary. So the first thing I do is I try to put them off by asking them some intrusive questions, you know, like, what do you really, really want? And what's stopping you from getting that? Because I need to know that. Now, if their answers to that are, well, I'm not really sure what I want, and, you know, I don't have any goals right now, and, you know, I haven't failed at anything because I haven't tried anything yet. Well, that's not my ideal client. So that's not a good call for me. You know, it might be a great call for them, but it's not a good call for me. So I would urge your audience here listening that, you know, just because you want to offer free time to people, and you should offer free time to people, it's not free time to everybody. No. You know, I think you've got to put a few burning hoops in the way to make people earn that time with you, you know. Ask them some questions. I even ask people, I give them the 4 different types of programs and price points, and I ask them in the pre-call question, so this is in Calendly, which of these services feels right for you if we are aligned, and they have to choose one. And then there's another question: if we are aligned, are you ready to make a decision today? And they've got to say yes. They've got to say yes or no.
Wow. So you're essentially, some people are being qualified out already because they're just thinking, oh, I would have got a half hour free with Rachel, and they're going, oh, she's actually expecting me to buy something.
Yeah, because I think when you've been in the online space a while and you've had people that are trying to sell you SEO services book a personal breakthrough call with me, pretending to be a lead, and then the minute they're on a call with you, they're giving you a hard pitch, you start to think, I'm not opening up my diary for anybody, thank you, unless you show me that you really do want to benefit from a breakthrough call with me. Now, that doesn't mean my breakthrough calls are a hard sell. I don't feel like I've sold anything in the last 10 years because I don't sell that way. There shouldn't ever be a point where you want the outcome more than the client. The client needs to be saying, Rachel, help me get some sales. You know, please help me. It shouldn't be me saying you need to get some sales, because that's a sales pitch, and I don't teach people how to do, you know, pitch. It's a conversation. A sales call is a coaching call. It's about facilitating a shared outcome. And so it's not about persuasion or influence. So it's about having that call with the right people for the right reasons, and then making it easy for them to make a decision and feel aligned with you if indeed you decide that you want to work with them.
So basically, rather than giving up our time freely, we need to be prepared to ask the hard questions early on to make sure that the people that we do give our time to are the ones that are really serious about wanting to work with us. Cool.
So one of the best questions to ask when somebody joins a discovery call, so let's say they get through those pre-call questions, and, you know, they're really, you know, let's face it, booking a call with somebody is really intentional. You know, they've given you their email address, they've answered those questions. So if they get to that point and they've done all those things, that's a really, really good sign. And so one of the first questions we should be asking them is, you know, I've been really excited to meet with you today, but I must ask you, like, why now? Why me? Why have you booked this? You know, like, what is the urgency for you? And get them to tell you exactly what it is that they want and why they chose you. Because in their answer is probably all the things that you need to know in order to figure out, do you want to work with them? Are you a good fit? and then the rest of the call is so much easier.
So just something that's occurred to me. You get to a point where you're having this call with somebody, and in that call you decide, actually this person's not a good fit for me. How do you deal with that?
That's where your network comes in. Because I think if we build a good network of people around us who offer complementary services, maybe even similar services, if somebody doesn't feel like a good fit, you don't really want to say to somebody, sorry, I can't help you. You want to be able to say, I'm not sure my program is right for you, but how about you speak to my colleague? Like, how about you speak to a peer of mine? How about you speak to somebody that I know can help you? So yeah, I would always say, if you are going to say no, make sure that you refer or recommend. Yeah,
for sure. I've definitely, particularly where people come to me thinking that I offer a particular service. I get quite a few small businesses come to me asking for Facebook advertising. I'm just like, not interested. I can't get my head around business manager. I can't get my head around ads. Really, you'll be wasting your money if you try and get me to do that for you. So I've always passed those on. So it actually builds that trust, doesn't it, when you're prepared to say, I don't think I'm the right person for you, but here's someone that I think will actually be better for you. So, definitely. So you've got this meeting and you've got this discovery call. It's all going swimmingly. What should we be doing to get people to actually commit? How can we get them to commit to an action? It might not be the end sale, but something that brings you closer.
Okay, so I think going back to Cupid, one of the key, success factors is the U for understand. Have you asked good questions? Have they given you good answers? And have you then got their permission to move on to the P, which is to present a solution? And so if you've asked really good questions and you're able to, from what you've heard, say to the client, now, what I've heard that you've told me today is you want this, you need it by this date, it's important to you for these reasons, you've thought about, allocating some budget or some investment to this, which looks like this amount of money. What would you like to happen next? Would you like to hear how I can help you to achieve that outcome? Because from what you've told me, I'm confident I can help you generate 20 leads a month. Would you like to hear how? So it's a permission-based move into a sales conversation. And when they say, actually, yes, I would love to hear how you can help me to do that, then you're into the P for present. And you only get the I for isolate, the objection, if, of course, what you present is not what they were hoping for or not what they had envisaged. So, the best way to get people to commit is to get their permission to move forward. Because if we pitch our services to somebody that isn't open to a pitch, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out you're going to get a no. And I don't know about you, but I don't like being told no. It reminds me of being not picked for the netball team, Like, I don't want that. So if you don't like hearing a no, don't put yourself in that position and make sure that you give them the opportunity to say, yes, I would like to hear how you can help me with that. So that's how I would usually get some commitment, by asking them, like maybe even showing some vulnerability. Like I will often say to people, I feel confident that I can help you get the outcome, but it's important to me that you feel confident in me. Do you, at this point, do you feel confident that you could work with me as your sales coach? And they, of course, have to decide then and say yes or no. And luckily they say yes. and then, of course, you can move into, well, let me tell you about the program and how it works. And it just becomes more of a conversation.
Brilliant. I'm just going to post the link to the blog post that you wrote for me, because just for people to go back over that Cupid framework, because it's just so useful. And when I was it took me a lot longer to publish this blog post than it normally does, because I was going back and reading was like, oh, that thing that she just said, and I was going back and reading it, and it just took me a bit longer. So I'm really glad that you got it to me before the deadline that I set, because I was just, I was like, oh, I'll do this now while I've got time, but it actually took more time. There's just so much useful stuff in there. So it's definitely worth a read. If you're on my email list, it went out this morning. So if you want to check back on that later, you can have a look at the email, and it's in your inbox right now. So last question I've got for you is, you've had this conversation and the person's sort of gone away and they've said, oh, I need to think about it. And to me, sometimes that says, I'm not sure, but sometimes it says, I don't think you're the right person, but I'm not sure how to tell you how. So how much following up should we do with these types of people?
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to suggest is that people agree what that follow-up looks like when they're in the sales call. Mm-hmm. Because that moment 3 days later, when you're not sure whether to email them or not, it's too late at that point. You had the opportunity when you were having a conversation. Yeah. So if they say to you, can you send me a proposal? Can you, summarize this in an email for me? As we said earlier, make sure that you agree exactly what it is that they need to see. And then I would recommend that you say, how long do you need to think about it?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And what exactly is it that you need to think about? I've asked people things like, are you the type of person that's going to need, a bit of a nag by email to look at this? Are you the type of person that's likely to forget? Do you have an inbox that's particularly busy? And so my email's just going to go down and down and down. And so I would say to them, look, at this point, I really want to work with you. And I'm going to send you a proposal that, sounds like everything that we've agreed here. So it's not really going to change anything. So what I really want to know from you is, do you want to work with me too? Because if you do, then the proposal is just a tick box. But if you don't, I'd much rather that you just tell me now and save both the time and the embarrassment of me chasing you around the internet, because I don't want to do that.
Okay.
And often, I said this to somebody quite recently, actually. This was a corporate client, and I said to him, just so that this was to go and train his team, just so you know, I'm not going to follow you up.
Oh.
So, the ball is in your court, because I believe if you want to work with me badly enough, we wouldn't even be at this point now.
Yeah.
You either want to work with me or you don't. Yeah. And I'm not going to follow you up, because I just think if I've done a good enough job at showing you that I can help you, then I don't need to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's up to you.
That's interesting you should say that, because one of the ladies that I'm working with at the moment, she's on my email list. And we've started working together because one email that I sent out, in the opening paragraph, I asked, how are you? And I went, no, really, how are you? I'm interested in knowing. If you want to tell me, reply to this email. And she did, and she just kind of sort of laid out how she was feeling about her business, and things had been a bit tough and whatnot. And I replied, and I just said, oh, if in this situation with marketing, my advice would be X, Y, Z. And she came back, she went, I wasn't even expecting a reply from you. I'm like, well, if you land in my inbox, you're going to get a reply. And it went on from there. And so we're working together. But I think to your point, it is about conversations, and it is about understanding people. And this conversation has made me realize that marketing and sales the actual kind of processes are a lot more similar than I, ever thought they were. Because I always did say marketing and sales need to go hand in hand. They need to work together. But there's a lot of similarities in how things do work together. Well, we're almost out of time. I want to thank you again for joining me, because this has been a really good conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
Quickly.
I know, it does. There's a couple of resources of Rachel's that I want to share with you. So the first one is Rachel's My Sales Mentor website. Correct me if this is wrong, Rachel, but it's got lots of resources on there for people to really get to grips with selling
Yeah,
So
it's not actually a website. It's a
okay.
it's a resources hub. So we call it the member zone, and
Okay.
inside it's got lots of free training and free worksheets and things
Cool.
that people might need. So
yep. So I'm definitely going to have a look at that one for sure. And exciting, you'll be able to hear much more from Rachel, because on the 27th of September, which is really only a week away, Rachel is launching her own podcast. I'm going to try. I told Rachel while we were doing sound checks and stuff that I'm not very good with listening to things. I need video. But I am going to really try hard to listen into some episodes, and hopefully that'll make me less podcast averse. But that's launching on the 27th, and I recommend you bookmark that page so that you remember and go back to it, because realistically, you can follow all the marketing advice that I give you, but you need the sales advice to go with that to make things work and for you to grow your business.
Yeah.
I shall be back in 2 weeks' time. It's going to be me flying solo, and I'm going to make this ask me anything kind of session. Not anything, but stuff around marketing, obviously. So join me then. But I just want to say thank you again to Rachel. If you if you get this on catch up and you have questions, post them in the comments, and I'll tag Rachel in, and she can answer them for you.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to answer any questions that come later. It's absolutely fine.
Cool. Thank you ever so much, Rachel. And
you're welcome.
I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Bye.